We continue, I suppose, with the question of how we empower our students. Rendani Tshivhase is the managing director of Mfundopedia, and he's here to tell us about how we can look at an approach that is empowering as far as education is concerned. Please, a round of applause for Rendani.
Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and thank you for the opportunity to be speaking to you today, and thank you specifically for being here at this present moment. I would also like to thank the PURCO team, led by Mr. Selvin. I think you've put together an incredible conference, and this is my first time in this conference, but I commit to be here from this year's one. Even next year's one, I'm going to be here because I want to associate ourselves with the winners. So it's been great. And I was asking myself last night if there was a practice session for the dances that you guys were doing that I was not invited to. But yeah, so my name is Rendani Tshivhase. I'm the managing director of Mfundopedia. We are a tech company, and we've been doing incredible work over the past 8 years. And because this is our first time in this session, I would like to take also this opportunity just to introduce the company and to also show some of the work that we've done in the past with clients and partners. So our main focus is on technology because of the benefits that technology has. But not only do we focus on the technology, but we also focus on the experiences that it offers you as organizations and as people. And in this space, we're not just talking about the experience of the students, but also the experience of your staff, your administrative staff, as well as your academic staff. And you need to recognize that there's been a lot of benefits that have been achieved by so many organizations by implementing technology. And one of my favorite quotes when it comes to technology is that technology such as software has been the most productive technologies that have been implemented in our business economy. And I believe even in higher education institutions, you have also observed the same when you implemented technology. And the implementation of technology is not just about talking about it to say we've got AI, we've got this connectivity, but it's also being able to measure the impact that that technology is bringing. There's a lot of organizations that have reported, from a global scale, that for every dollar that they've spent, they've actually achieved, $7 in improvement in productivity. And those are some of the business cases that I believe even higher education institutions will be able to achieve. So as a company, we started by saying to ourselves, we want to bring ideas into reality, and not just in reality, but to also make a significant impact in society. One of our earliest projects that we did was we were given a challenge of a school that was in a very remote area, but in order to bridge the gap in terms of the education quality, we needed to come up with a technology solution to provide world-class education in a very remote area. And we came up with a solution that not only used solar as a power source, but it was also able to function with very limited connectivity to provide e-learning content and e-learning services to those kids. And ever since that first project that we did, with all the customers that we've engaged with, we've always been looking at what ambitions they want to achieve, as well as what challenges they want to solve, because we don't believe that you should be living with problems, but you should be engaging with us so that we are able to assist you to achieve the ambitions or to solve the problems that you need to solve. We don't come and say we've got the solutions, but we know that you've got the experiences and we've got the know-how in terms of the technologies and what it does, and we're able to walk on a journey so that you see the impact that's also measurable. A little bit about myself. Yes, as I stand in front of you, I'm an advocate for technology, but my journey, I'm actually a trained microbiologist by education. That's before I went to the business school. But I always say that it gives me an advantage because I've been trained in some of the complex systems in terms of bacteria, viruses, and human physiology. But I have to say, during the COVID pandemic, I had very little advice on that front, but I was able to push for certain projects that allowed even higher institutions to bridge the gap from what was their traditional archetype as a university, where students have to go to the university to do the learning, but to now transform that university to be able to offer the education from the safe spaces of the students' residences. So over the years, we've been able to not only innovate with our clients, but to also produce innovative products. And as our identity, we identify ourselves as a company that innovates for competitiveness. And I believe, even though there's a strong sense of unity within higher institutions, but competition is very healthy for us to take the industry forward or to take the sector forward. I'll just give an overview of some of the innovations that we've put together over the years. We've got a product called Secure Sign. When we launched it, it was a digital signing solution. But through the experiences that we're going through with our clients, we realized that there was a much bigger importance to being able to digitally sign. And it was coming from the fact that when we onboard your staff to be able to use digital signature, we verify their identities physically and digitally, ensuring that we've got credibility in the data that we have. A lot has been spoken about cybersecurity, but there can't be security without integrity. And that solution speaks to that. It speaks to the integrity of the staff that are operating within your institutions. Whether you're talking about academic staff or administrative staff, you need to start with integrity before you even elevate to cybersecurity. So that's one of the solutions that we provide. We've got also a data central system that looks after your debtors, the people that owe you money, the students that owe you money, because we've realized that from a finance perspective, there are a lot of organizations that will be sitting with growing debtors book without having sufficient analysis in terms of what's happening in that debtors book. So through our integrated services, we're able to give you insights in terms of what's recoverable and what's not recoverable. And by doing all these things, we're able, if you look at the experience in a higher education institutions, there's the academic experience, but now you need to also focus on the administrative experience, because that's where it gives you more productivity, that's where it reduces your cost. And we know that there are challenges around funding mechanisms of universities. So what's better way to actually have a holistic approach in terms of how you tackle your challenges? In terms of cybersecurity, when I look at the faces of people around here, I'm sure you would recognize the brand called BlackBerry, which used to be a very big smartphone maker a couple of years ago. So that company over the years pivoted from making handsets to now focusing a lot more on their what they were known for, which is the software for cybersecurity. And they started offering that to enterprises. So we had the opportunity to now partner with them to provide those robust cybersecurity products into the market. We also have payment solutions called MFP Secure Pay, which allows not only for you to capture payments, but to also have an approach of distributing payments in situations where you've got complexities in the administration side. in terms of communication, you have to understand that you can't over-communicate enough. And hence, we developed MFP Connect, which is our communications platform for SMSs, MMSs, and any other integrations with WhatsApp to ensure that you sufficiently communicate with your stakeholders. So you either adapt or you die. And what this means is that we need to embrace the technology so that you are able to be sustainable as an organization and to actually reach the goals that you have. During the COVID pandemic, we were given a challenge by, I think it's the largest metropolitan municipality in Africa, to allow them to continue operating even though there were those restrictions. The main goal was to ensure that they are able to accept applications for their property value chain and be able to approve for work to continue happening. And it was a time where we were busy adopting the use of Teams, busy adopting having these online meetings, but we successfully delivered that project. But what we realized that we did not only achieve the operational goal of being able to operate, but we were able to assist them to reduce the number of days it took to do approvals by about 97%. And that speaks to even some of the operational challenges that you may have in higher education institutions, where there's a lot of opportunity to actually improve the operation, the productivity, and even when you talk about things such as AI, where you can automate and do all those things, there's always a question about whether it will replace people, what is the impact on people. But you have to understand that jobs evolve. And what we've done with technology is what we call to actually liberate the human spirit. By that we mean that we want every single staff member in institutions to actually perform at their best. And there is no better way of doing that by bringing the right technology and actually ensuring that the change management, we really work on it to ensure that there's adoption. Because it doesn't matter how much money you throw into these investments, you need to ensure that there's an impact from it. So moving into some of the challenges that are there in higher education institutions. As a sector, we have to recognize that it plays a significant role in society and also in economic development, to a point where we believe that the opportunities that sits within the technology adoption, which have been accounted to about $100 trillion, some of that portion is what can be realized through adoption of technology in higher education institutions. We understand as a country where we come from, the disparities in terms of various locations, the disparities in terms of different societies, the issues around infrastructure development, which some of the previous speakers have spoken about. And we know that when you now adopt technologies, there is nothing that you can manage if you're not monitoring. Which means that it starts off with ensuring that you've got a base for actually monitoring and measuring your CAPEX spend, your infrastructure development initiatives. And still focusing on the actual academics portion, there's a number of ways that we've realized that have actually created benefits in terms of the learning of students. Before I even touch on what I'm presenting on the screen, as a company in the technology space, we are constantly in a recruitment phase to try and get as many talented software developers to join our team. But it is a very difficult task to do, and hence it doesn't stop. We don't have seasons where we say, now we are recruiting. We are constantly looking for talent. And one of the things that we've started doing was to actually create internship programs where we bring in students from universities, we bring in graduates from TVET colleges, and we put them in real projects so that we are able to uplift them in terms of the skills that they have, but to also solve a big crisis that we have as a country, which is around the software development industry. The demand is just so much, and what we've been doing as a country is not even coming close to solving that issue. So in terms of some of the benefits that technology can offer, it's around your personalized learning, as well as your always-on learning, because you don't have to schedule time for the students to go learn. When you've got online environments where people can be able to learn at any given time. And what this does is that from the sector that we've operated in, which is around the utilities and municipalities, we create what you call a digital twin, which means you've got the physical infrastructure and the physical traditional learning that you are providing, but there's also this digital university that exists. And if you think of what actually happened during COVID, the universities that were traditionally distance learning, they then realized that they were now competing with normal universities that were not distance learning. And because the ones that were not traditionally distance learning, they were under pressure. They innovated so quickly and implemented so much digital innovation to a point where they were probably even more ahead in terms of what they were offering to their students compared to the ones that are traditional distance learning. So a lot of this relies on data, and a lot of this relies on analysis, which brings an interesting topic around AI. I know the previous speakers spent a lot of time speaking about AI, but it's important to recognize that AI is not a tool, but rather an agent. And in our space of software development, over the years, we realized that more and more of our software developers were using AI to supplement and to make sure that there's efficiency in how they develop code. But it came with a certain challenge, which was, we are an IP company, we're an intellectual property company. It means the moment we start adopting publicly available AI engines, it means some of our IP is actually leaving our company and it's out there. We then had to make investments in ensuring that we've got AI infrastructure and we've got engines that are running that supplement the work that our developers are doing. And in terms of universities, even though the core function is around learning and education, there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of data and IP that's being generated. And there is very little talk around your data sovereignty as well as your IP sovereignty, which, because of that lack of understanding and attention, a lot of it is going out there without universities benefiting out of that. And I would like to say this as a challenge to all the universities to actually consider spending a lot more investments in these future technologies, because it is your future. And for you to remain competitive in the world, these are the type of investments that you need to look at. And we are sort of that partner that has walked through this journey, and we are willing to partner with any university to ensure that we achieve a much more bigger impact in society. And in order to adopt any of these things, there has to be a change also in terms of your staff. There has to be a change in terms of your academic staff. There has to be more digital fluency in your academic staff, because there is no way you are going to embrace technology, or the students are going to embrace technology, if the academic staff themselves do not embrace the technology. There is also certain approaches and methodologies that come into play in this future way of doing things. Things like design thinking that are centered around collaboration of not just your staff, but also with your student community. So, to close off, it's actually an invitation to all of you to engage with ourselves. We came here fully prepared as one of the exhibitors, and we've got a stand in the exhibition. We brought a team that's able to engage with everyone and be able to look at the challenges that your specific organization is facing and look at ways where we can actually move society forward. So with that, thank you.
We are fire starters, disruptors at the core. Our clients, however, see us as safe and trusted. Are you in? Thank you very much. A round of applause, please, to Rendani from Mfundopedia. The most difficult and most challenging thing to achieve, I suppose, is shifting the paradigm for the people. Particularly if you're sitting in places of influence and decision-making in taking a university or a college on this journey, isn't it? It's about, Arthur referred to it earlier, that you need to have trust in the data in the case of AI, but by the sounds of things, in this entire opportunity that can be realized through technology.
Yeah, I think you can't remove the human element, and that's where you really have to start. If you do your stakeholder analysis properly and understand the individual ambitions of people, the goals that they want to achieve, as well as their fears. Because we've gone, implementing solutions even in places where it seemed impossible to transform people. I mean, there was a department that we had to deal with, which was the archiving department. All it dealt with was physical documents, storing them, being able to receive requests, remove from there. And when we had engagements, they're like, we see the technology is coming. We see that there's no longer a need for someone to have a request and go pull up a file. What is going to happen to us? And as technology providers, we can't ignore that and say, the future is coming. We need to find a way of working with HR and other departments to say, how do we upskill and evolve the roles that are there within an institution so that, because if you look at many organizations, they are moving away from just being traditional businesses into platform business, where you've got a significant driver on the platform that has all the logic of the business and it's able to serve the customers. There are many companies where we can say, we can actually fire all the managers and the company will still function because of that platform level of thinking. But in order to achieve that, you need to take the people along.
Which is easy to do with my 10-year-old nephew who's in grade school because he's already living in this world, right? This is how he functions, this is how he operates, this is how he learns. A little bit more difficult to do so with a 55-year-old who probably at the end of the day is thinking, how is my retirement investment doing, and how am I going to afford the lifestyle that I'm accustomed to once I stop working?
I think what we've done in the past, we've got this thing that you cannot over-communicate. And that is based on approaches, that is based also on the frequency that you must consistently be communicating. And also, you cannot just bring things to people and say, hey, this is what we are going to do. You need to have started with them in the planning so that they understand where you are going, where the thinking is. And you also take some of their thinking into your planning so that there's ownership. Because when someone reads some of the things that they came up with, they know this is theirs. So the project is no longer the service provider's project, but it is our project.
I think it was Rodney actually yesterday who said that we're quite slow at adopting new technology in South Africa, but then once we do, we accelerate ahead of everyone else in adopting it. So I hope that will be the case in this case. You can find them at the exhibition hall, Mfundopedia. Rendani, thank you very much indeed for your insights. The MD of Mfundopedia.